Alright guys, we're going to do another Econoline video. This one's on the radius arm bushings. Um, it's one of those things that's very simple, but we're going to do it anyway because we're running out of things to make videos on in the Econoline. Things aren't breaking fast enough. I guess it's just a really good vehicle. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to go with a cheap Master Pro brand. We went to O'Reilly's last night and they said, yeah, they don't have them. They don't have that style for this vehicle. That's not, that's not what it calls for. And they tried to give us something else totally different. Turns out the computers were all funky and glitching out. Seems to be happening more and more these days. That's just why I don't fully trust digital technology. You got to have some common sense along with it. So we went and looked this up at another place and crossed some numbers and got their original part number. Then went in there and said, give me this part number. You don't even look it up by the vehicle anymore. And we had to do that, unfortunately. Anyway, radius arm, what is it? Here's the wheel. It's attached right behind the driver and passenger wheel, so it's in the front. It's that bushing right there that comes off that arm that is attached to the spring, which is attached to that other arm, which is a twin I-beam. That's an I-beam, and there's an I-beam on the other side, hence the term twin, two of them. And that right there is the radius arm, which is coming off. And that is got big bushings. And what do they look like? Well, they look like this. Let's open the package here. Here, cameraman, my help, thanks. Let's take a look here. So you know. I'm sure there are other videos on this. It's a very simple job. It can get a little complicated. I'll show you how in a minute. We're going to do one side, and then off camera we're going to do the other side. But we are going to simulate and show you what happens. Now, why are we changing these? Okay, you need to know why. The vehicle is creaking. It's creaking when you hit the brakes. Intermediately, when you get off the road, the highway, you pull into a parking lot, turn the wheel a little bit, I'm getting a little creak. It really sounds like the brake caliper. It sounds like there's a problem with the brakes, but it's not. It sounds like there's a creak in the front end. You can't tell where it's coming from. So we've inspected everything else. In fact, we've changed everything else on this vehicle. And I mean, everything that can be changed bushing-wise has been changed on the front end, except these radius arm bushings. I suppose the previous owner before me changed them already, but they're probably due to be changed again because the one on the driver's side is making contact with the frame. And I'll show you how. This washer is actually touching the frame and making a scratching noise on the frame, and that's where our creak is coming from. And so, cameraman, walk right underneath here and show where it's making contact. So I don't know if you can see that on the camera. You should be able to. Yep.
Right where that rust spot is.
Right, and you can see fresh metal. Whenever you see fresh metal on metal, you know it's been scraping there a while. Show the back here of the radius arm. So that nut has to come off, and then of course this bracket right here, and then we can get to the radius arm. We'll show you how that works. All right, before we change this bushing, we're going to show you a simulation of what it's doing. I think it's important to do that because you're one single person working on a vehicle. You don't have somebody to help you. It's important to see how this stuff works. There's many times where I wish a secondary person or a third person was there to help move mechanical parts for me so I can see where a problem may occur. In this case, we're gonna take a look at this here. So let's look at the radius arm. All right, I'm going to start the vehicle and show you what the radius arm does. When you hit the brakes, you back up, you go forward and such. That's the first. That's full. Y'all hear that? I'm sure you heard that. All right.
Yep, creaking sounds.
That's what you're getting. That's the problem we're having. So we are going to replace that and see if we get the same sound out of it. But yeah, it's it can be annoying. Is it a road hazard? Probably not, but it is very annoying, and it's it can be embarrassing too if you're pulling up on a job or at a relative's house and you have all that noise. You know, it kind of sounds like the clampets are there for a visit. So we're going to change that. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is take some penetrating oil and spray, make it a little easier on us. Um, these are 15 millimeter right here for this bracket. You're going to need to take this bracket off, okay? Because you got to get to the rubbers that are here and here, the little rubbers. Well, this is a spacer, but that rubber right there, you're going to need to change those, and the way to do it is to take this bracket off. So behind here, if you're looking, well, we'll get on the back side in a minute, but let's just spray a little bit of penetrating oil, and then the cameraman will go around to the other side and show you the back sides of these bolts and what's actually holding back on the back side. Okay, there's actual nuts that are welded on this bracket, so you want to absolutely make sure you don't cross thread this when you put it back on, and you'll see later. All right, so let's see if we can break our bolts loose here. Now we're going to get a jack and place it underneath this radius arm right here later. Okay, we're going to put it underneath here, wherever sits best, to be able to jack the arm back up. That's to keep it from flopping down when we take this off, and so that we can jack it back up if we need to. Now, if we need to bend the radius arm down, we can always stick a pry bar in between here and here and bend it down. Note that it can only go up till this washer touches the frame, and then the radius arm can't climb any higher than that when you're taking it off. So, if anything, stop it from coming down with a jack stand or a jack or a piece of wood or whatever you got. But will the wheel come off and will the vehicle fall on you? But just by removing this, no, it won't. Unless I'm extremely unlucky. Somebody else out there is. I don't know if it's ever happened before, but all of that up there would have to be compromised and or break in half on you in order for that to happen. And I don't think that's going to happen with the way that this is designed. So we're going to break this loose and we'll come back. All right, with this cheap Chinese ratchet, we are removing these bolts. Now this one, you can see as it starts to back out, to limited clearance. So that's where a short socket might come in handy, or a non-deep wall. And this nut right here, let's take a look at that. Well, although a standard 1 1/8" socket is not the correct size, it is, yeah, it is close, but it's not. So we're gonna try to get something smaller. It appears that we don't have to use a deep wall on this, unless maybe this radius on nut is not tight all the way. We'll see what we can do here. All right, so we broke it loose a little bit, but I am using an 1 1/8". Okay, got the nut off. The nut doesn't seem to be compromised with the threads that are, yeah, it's not stripped out or anything. What do we got here? A washer and a grommet. It's kind of sitting at an angle like this, so it's kind of hard to take off unless you separate these two. So you want to separate them. We'll get this off and we'll come back. We're gonna use a screwdriver, flathead pry bar. See how you can move that radius arm a bit? There's some flexibility, and that's with the vehicle's full weight on the ground. All right, we'll come back. Yeah. All right, this is what's coming off. Oh, look.
Ooh, it's worn.
No, it's not. It's the way that it is. It looks like slightly different bushing than what we got, than what they sold us. And we'll have to take a look and see in comparison.
That one's
Yeah.
broken right there.
Sure, well, it's torn up, and that's what's creaking. You see, it's allowing the radius arm to push up and the washer to make contact with the top on the inside here, see? And that's why we're getting that creaking sound. So it might be time to find a more appropriate radius arm bushing than this. We'll see. Alright, here they are. See how long that bolt is? This goes through the frame. Through the frame and into the radius arm bushing bracket. Whatever it's called. Right?
Got a jack underneath it, huh?
Yeah, just lightly right there. Just sitting there for support, just if we need it. We'll try to get this off. Sometimes it gives us a hard time, the way that it's situated. You know, sometimes you have to pry it off. Maybe you have to move the radius arm up or down just a little bit to stop the bind. But nevertheless, you can get it off. We're gonna get off camera again and take this off. All right, so it looks like the effective method is to pull the bracket down like this, right? See? Just to give you a little tip. All right. All right, so we got the radius arm bracket off. That's what it looks like. Look, you can see it's cupped like this in the front, so a bushing goes around there. It kind of helps guide the bushing. That's also for this piece, and we'll simulate this on the ground with a new bushing kit and show you. We got this bushing, and there's what it looks like as it was pushed through. You can see, look, man, this reminds me of the bush. Look, yeah, see, it wore through. This reminds me of the bushing that they put on the Dodge B series vans. They look kind of cone like this. The Fords and the Dodges, the Econolines and the B series vans, they kind of look similar, like the same almost. You know, the way that the radius arms are made. But a lot of vehicles use radius arm bushings like this, so changing them is really not a big deal. But we wanted to show what it looked like. So it turns out we did need this. Okay, well, we're gonna take this stuff with us and inspect it over on the ground and simulate a new one. All right, so the bracket would have been, I guess, like this, something like that. These three bolts here pointing forward like this. This part would have been, let's see, yeah, seemed like this part would have been facing the truck like that. So that would have went on. That bushing would have went on. That big washer, and then the radius arm through there, and the nut on the back side here. If you were poor and you wanted to stop it from squeaking, I guess you could just undo this nut a little bit, take this, lube it up, and then spin it like that to stop it from vibrating.
Put the bad side down.
Put the bad side where it's worn down, where metal was touching metal, put it down, and then put this in between your radius arm and your frame, or the upward motion, to stop that washer from hitting the frame, and then you could get away a couple of more miles that way if you wanted to. So I'm just showing you that there's an option there. Now, obviously, these two bushings are different, right? The one, the aftermarket they sold you, and I think this is an aftermarket bushing. It says Clevite on it, kind of like the Barron Company Clevite 77, but not. It's Clevite. So this is a different bushing of some kind, and it's a different style. See, it plugs through, and then it's got kind of like a keeper on the backside that goes into, like that. And I like that design, honestly, probably more than this traditional aftermarket that was sold to me by O'Reilly's,
What they
Master
do,
Pro, whatever.
make the rubber share responsibility of holding them.
They did, yes. So it shares responsibility of coming together in the middle of this right here, see? And I just don't think that's enough of a ledge, especially when you're talking about putting this new spacer on there, which is not broken in. contoured. What I mean is contoured to the steel, like the other aftermarket one is. That's kind of mushed in pretty good. Look, it's nice and flush. So there is a tendency to break these right here. These do break. They will crack in half and fall off the truck 2 or 3 hours after you install them and you're driving around. And that is because I believe that they're too hard, or they're made cheaply or something, and they're also trying to wear themselves in place, and they don't sit flush like that. So hence you tighten that up, and it mashes it down, and then it splits this plastic, and then the spacer falls off, and you're like, oh shit, well, what do
Clunk, clunk.
yeah, how do I put another spacer on? Well, you got to take all this crap off just to get a spacer back on, and that's a pain in the ass in itself. So you want to make sure that after you install these, you go back an hour later or so after you take a ride and check these spacers to see if they fell off the vehicle. You might want to go up and down a driveway or a little bump, not nothing crazy, but just something, an incline or decline, and just bounce off of it and come back on, because that puts pressure every time this wheel hits something in the front on these radius arms, because it jams it back like that. When that wheel hits something at the bottom, when you roll onto something or hit a parking block, you could bump it against a parking block and put pressure on that. And that plastic will break after that a few times if it's not strong, or if it's compromised, or if it's not sitting flush. You will notice that. So you could test it out that way and speed the process up and see if you got something good. But I'd say with a cheap, really cheap $16 kit like this, or whatever we paid, it's probably a 60% chance that this won't break. So 40% chance it will. And that just depends on how it sits on the metal. So you want to make a note of that before you buy a cheap kit like we did. But we're going to do some cross-referencing, and we're going to do some part number searching, and we're going to see if they do make this style and has some benefit above the other. So we'll get back with you. All right, so we're back. We did a little research, and we discovered that there is nothing special about the bushings that go on the... We knew this already. We just needed to double check. Because when you start fooling with these advanced track vehicles, they're very temperamental when it comes to suspension and things like that. Advanced track has its own, springs and different things like that, and they don't want you to do anything special. In fact, you can't even put any uh, sound systems or bassy sound systems in an advanced track vehicle, because you'll throw off the computer in the sensors. So long story short, these bushings are the same as a regular E350 or 250 or whatever you have. There's nothing special about it being an advanced track. So, in short, these bushings that they sell you now are the modern day bushings. These ones that install this older bushing that install inserts inside of itself like that a little bit, and then acts as a sleeve throughout instead of meeting in the middle. These are an older style bushing, and you can cross-reference these part numbers and get them, but they're no more expensive than these, and they're a little harder to get. So we're going to use these bushings. What do we need? We need the rubber to go on, but they have these new washers here, so we can replace this washer if we want to, or we can use the old washers. I say, since the other bushing was pretty much an aftermarket bushing in the first place, I don't see any need to keep the old washers. I might as well just replace them. However, there is one piece that I may consider keeping, and that is the plastic bushing. The plastic spacer, the old one, the gray one, because this new black one doesn't fit like I would like it to fit. It isn't worn in and smashed down like the other. And although time is not on my side for using this, in other words, it dry rot over time, and maybe I'll have to change this sooner because of that. Again, even though that's a possibility, I still would consider using it. Yeah, thickness is not really a problem, but Oh, I just hate to have one of these break on me and then have to take this thing right back off. I really would. So I may consider using it. We'll see. I need a pry down on this. Take that off. There's that washer. You can
Big
see.
dome washer.
Yeah, look. You see how it's hitting. Look. See that? That's where the other one was hitting. Look. That was the source of all that damn noise. Look. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Look at that. It's been doing that a while. Look.
Yep. Shiny metal.
Yeah, and it was spinning over time and doing it all the way around. Vibrating, you know? That's crazy. Let's take a look at that, though. Why couldn't a person just actually grind those down a little bit, those washers, so that it doesn't hit, you know? All right, look. Diameter. Right? Old, new.
Virtually the same?
Yeah, virtually. Basically. I like keeping these big washers around. I think they're useful for things. I always like washers for things. The rear washers are pretty good. Pretty much almost the same as the other. Oh, look, the other's a little bit smaller. Check that out. Really? Well, if they say, you know, it won't hit, it shouldn't hit. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Damn it. Let's see. Yep. Look, you can move the whole wheel like that. Kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's put this on. The longest part of the video right here. All right. So we would need this spacer here, right? Or this spacer here.
It doesn't fit too well.
Let's see if we can make it fit right. Crack it or what? Nope. What a piece of crap. Aftermarket junk. It's a junky Chinese mold, right?
Yeah, if it turns sideways,
Shit.
it'll probably break.
Yeah, I mean, it's already doing that for me. I'm not using that shit. Sorry, guys. If that's all you got, you got to use it. But we don't. We have the old one. Now, here's this, right? Alright. See, I got myself started now. Look. Right there, see? I'm in and I'm started. So I'm gonna let this go for now.
Prying down on the arm, huh?
Yeah. All about prying down an arm, right? That's your friend, being able to pry down an arm. Remember the jack, like our jack is kind of in the way, so it's giving me more resistance than it should. So we should lower that jack a little bit, but we'll do that in a little while. The hardest part about putting these damn bushings on is about putting this bracket back on and getting these bolts to go through here without cross threading them, okay? They're going to want to cross thread on you, at least one of them. Do not fall for the bait. Take your time. All right, so it's obvious which way these bushings could go. They could go both ways, actually. But look, since you don't really have a reference, definitely take the bigger, what looks like bigger. Now remember, they're the same. Okay, they're almost the same thickness, right? I'm sorry, they're going to add almost the same thickness. Let's see. So we have this one on already. Okay, this is for the other side, but we already have it on here. We have it like this, right? We have this piece sitting in. What we want to do is, what it looks like it should do is put this side to meet right in the middle like that. But I don't like that idea, and it doesn't look practical, and it doesn't look right. What looks right is using this bevel right here to go inside this bevel, which is shaped the same, to hold this centralized from going up and hitting. So like that.
Right.
But why is this left behind, this little indentation? I don't know. But look, see, that's what it looks like when you install it that way. And you still got some ways to go. You can see down in there, right? If you push it down. which means that you're going to be coming to the end of threads real soon. Eh?
Yep.
Something like that. Right? This washer will add a spacer. I still think this is the best way to install it. It's the only way I see it stabilizing this, right? This the center.
It clicks like a puzzle.
It does. So we're going to do it that way. They don't come with instructions. They never do. Let's see. All right. So we know big washer, this. We don't have to put that on right now. We can leave that off. We can go after this and try to get this lined up. Here's what I think would be a good idea. Obviously, over here, you can see. Can you see the holes trying to align or what? Yeah, see, you got a good ways to go. You want to film from the other side so you can see, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I got this side here.
Okay. Good.
Can't see inside the holes, but
Well,
yeah.
that's useless for the viewer. Let's see. Let's remove that. Keep an eye on that. What do we really need to do? Let's see. What are we looking at? Not even close, right? No. Okay, so how do we get this to come back? Because you got a new bushing here. Remember that. How do we get this bracket to push further on to the vehicle? It's kind of hard to do that, right? So I think what we're going to do is pause that real quick, lower this jack, and we're going to use it. I'm going to use it closer up this way. All right, so here's how I'm going to get this in without fighting it the whole way, okay? I'm going to use some geometry, which is angles and such. We're going to take this thing and we're going to bend it down. This whole rod, we're going to bend it down, and then we're going to tilt this up, creating like a wedge effect. So we're going to go down and then up like that. Let's say, watch. Go down. Hold your bracket. Now, see how we're able to go up with the bracket here. So what we're trying to do here is get one bolt started, at least one bolt. And if we get one bolt started, we can create like a wedge here, and then we can push up on this and get it to wedge in effect, so we can put another bolt in, if that makes any sense. All right. All right. So we got one bolt here at the top in. We just need to get it tight without cross threading. Remember what I told you. This thing gonna want to cross thread on you.
You kind of got to bind it in.
No, you don't want to bind right away. But what we're doing here is we're going down far like this so that we can put weight like this to make it straighten out. There is another way. The other way is get this radius arm to drop. Even get this whole thing to push forward just a little bit, meaning the wheel, push the wheel forward. Push this wheel forward. How do you do that? Well, you can put a block under the wheel and then slightly reverse the vehicle, slightly. But put something under here so this radius arm doesn't drop all the way down. Just a little bit. And that'll pull this whole twin I-beam setup, spring, all that forward and out of your way of this. You can do that if you want. It's been done. I've done it before, installing energy suspension bushings that are all stiff, aftermarket bush. I hate energy suspension on a vehicle like this because it really kills the ride. You want to go back with a rubber and not a plastic bushing, a polyurethane bushing. Stay away from polyurethane bushings when it comes to the radius arm, unless you want to feel everything in the gas pedal and the brake pedal. That's my opinion on this after changing and using both the rubber and the polyurethane over and over. With all the Econolines I've owned, and the Dodge vans, geez, for that matter. You know, I used to think it was so cool to get a polyurethane bushing, but not really. Okay, so come look over here, cameraman. You see what we got here? We got a bracket that a hole that doesn't want to line up here. And what are we looking like here? It doesn't want to line up here either.
It wants to go down a little bit, looks like.
Well, this is fine. This is already in. So I'm going to tighten this up a little bit more, but leave it loose so that I can use this as a hinge. I'm gonna push up on this next with the jack, and then get another bolt started here and here. Get it? So that's the wedge effect I was talking about, using geometry to set this. It's pretty simple. All right, so you can see how I got my jack underneath here, and I pushed this up a little bit. Now, I'm doing the front one and putting the front one in. Now, this may seem easy to you from a video, but it becomes a pain in the ass when this bracket starts going this way, that way, and then it starts to open up on you. When it opens up on you, then it starts to cock sideways, and then you got up and down with the bolt. You got all kind of weird problems. So here, what you to avoid that, you put a bolt in the top here like I did, tighten that down almost all the way, but then loosen it up just a little bit so this thing can pivot on the frame, but barely as a hinge. Then that keeps it from doing that. So then you put the jack under it, and then that's when you get it. And you should get the concept. And then you can get the front or the back bolt started. And so we got the front bolt started here, and then we'll put the back one in last. But it's not cross-threaded. It's easy to go, and that's what you want. Okay, so this bolt isn't tight all the way. It's just loose. And we got that one in. That's the same. It's not tight yet. Then we're trying our last one here. And it's going to fight us a little bit, looks like. Yeah, so we need to move it just a little. And it might be as simple as lowering the jack at that point, and then it might fall itself into place. Or it could be as simple as tightening up on these and see if that brings you to the right position for this. Okay. Try that. Let's try tightening the top end. Let's see if that puts us in the ballpark here. No, in fact, it's just gonna fight us. So, well, it's quite busy around here, isn't it? Now we got an airplane. It sounds like it wants to land in a yard. Jeez, and there's no planes around here. All right, so we removed the jack, we got that out of the way, and we're gonna, because we couldn't get our last bolt in, so we're gonna try the remove, trying without the jack, see if that helps us any. Still can't start yet. Okay, let's use our Chinese ratchet, see if we can loosen this crap up. Let's try with this one loose, see if that gets us started. All right, that doesn't work. We'll try this. Okay, so now both of them are loose enough to move, right? There. Okay, that doesn't help us. Well, this is what happens, and it doesn't mean you're screwed. It just means that you have to move shit a little bit with a screwdriver or a pry bar. Okay, that's obviously not it. All right, we're going to save our pain in the ass for last. This bolt right here, we're just going to leave him there, and we're going to finish up. We're going to finish up our bushing setup. I'm going to go in with that cone. I'm going to go with a big washer. There, part number. There. I'm going to tighten this up a bit. I don't want this to struggle to be centered. I don't want to have a bunch of pressure on it. That's why I have my screwdriver here and everything. So I want to center this first, and then go ahead and tighten it up a little bit, so that I don't have a concern of rubber not meeting in the middle, or it straining itself trying to tighten up, meaning deforming the rubber or pinching it in some way. All right, that's good enough. I can tighten it up the rest of the way when it's on. When you tighten this nut up, just tighten it up till it stops, meaning all the way. And you'll know that by it'll stop on you, or you'll see the threads on the other side just as much. You can look at the other nut for reference before you take it off. Yep, so you just go on that much and everything, and that's it. So
like 4 threads.
Yeah. All right. So now fight with the asshole again. Hey, look.
It went in.
It corrected itself. See?
Huh.
I get it started 3 or 4 threads so you don't cross thread it, and then you know you're home free. And I think that about concludes changing the radius on bushing. We can finish this and put one last clip at the end of the video of what it looks like with the new radius on bushing trying to go forward and backwards. If y'all like to see that. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, torque settings. As tight as it was when you took it off. That good? Okay. Perfect.
Yep, I don't hear any more sounds.